Welcome to LFN News, a production of LFN Media, bringing you the latest in celebrity news, with specific analysis to keep you in the know of what is going on around you. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe, and hit the bell icon, so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. There has been a lot of debate as to why R. Kelly's appeal has stalled, with some saying it's Bonjean's delay tactic, intended to see R. Kelly through this critical Chicago trial, that even before inception, had already shown signs of revealing many more secrets than met the eye. It should be noted that Jennifer Bonjean, R. Kelly's lead attorney, had actually tried pushing for a delay in sentencing for the New York trial ahead of the New York sentencing. Bonjean, in her submission to the judge with the request, expressed concerns that any potential testimony made by Kelly to a mitigation expert for his sentencing hearing could be used against him in his Illinois case. I cannot advise Kelly to be examined or interviewed by a mitigation expert for sentencing in this case, if his words might be used against him in some manner in his pending trial, she explained. But prosecutors dismissed her argument as speculative concern. They argued it strains credibility that Kelly would say anything to a potential mitigation expert that would incriminate him in his other case. Resultantly, the judge ruled in favor of prosecution, rejecting her bid to postpone the sentencing date for Kelly's convictions in New York. Well, Bonjean went ahead and engaged a mitigation expert, resulting into a lengthy, pre-sentencing submission that may have seemed as conclusive to many, but never really influenced the sentencing in any way. With the numerous bombshell revelations that are coming out of the Chicago trial testimonies lately, one can't help but wonder that maybe, the pre-sentencing submission wasn't as conclusive as we had thought. It is evident that R. Kelly must have been forced to withhold some critical information, that could have probably bettered his chances at a fairer sentencing in the New York trial, but was indeed limited by the fact that there was this pending Chicago trial. This then gives us an insight into just how critical a win for R. Kelly in Chicago is, even for his pending New York appeal. Now, it is common knowledge that the appeal case never looks at evidence outside the original trial being appealed, and that could easily mislead us into believing that the results of the Chicago trial are independent of the New York appeal, but don't be fooled. To understand how the two actually feed into each other, we can start by accessing the visible effects of the R. Kelly New York conviction on the Chicago trial itself. From Bonjean's opening statement itself, we see Bonjean rather worried about the jury being swayed by the image that had already been painted of R. Kelly, thanks to the infamous Surviving R. Kelly documentary series that we can actually blame for triggering an indictment of R. Kelly and subsequent arrest in Chicago. When the government wants to paint him as a monster, you remember we are talking about a human being, Bonjean stressed. She said jurors should not succumb to what she called a mob justice climate surrounding Kelly, alluding to Surviving R. Kelly and years of harsh social media accounts of him. With that in mind, the logic is, should R. Kelly walk out of the Chicago court free after the trial, it will be of huge impact on the pending New York appeal in many ways, but first, by cleaning up of the image that was greatly tainted, largely by the Surviving R. Kelly documentary series and the alleged victims' testimonies in the New York trial. In addition to R. Kelly's image, a win in the Chicago trial would automatically regard Bonjean's major arguments in this trial, and her pre-sentencing submissions as facts that can be considered in the appeal case. Yes, I do understand the way federal appeals work, and I fully understand that the appeal court cannot look at any evidence outside the one shared in the original trial that is being appealed. What I am trying to say here though is, under that whole lengthy pre-sentencing submission, that also included a letter from a former alleged victim, Joycelyn Savage, who later confessed she was not a victim but actually R. Kelly's fiancée, could all come in handy in the appeal. And with a win in Chicago, the appeal court would be cognizant of that fact that the government has had a special interest in finding R. Kelly guilty at all costs, to the extent of granting alleged witnesses immunity for their own crimes in exchange of their rehearsed testimonies against the R&B king. Looking deeper into the actual facts from the Chicago case that will play a great role in R. Kelly's New York appeal, we can list the top most critical as the revelation that most of R. Kelly accusers in the Chicago case were found to have actually kept a relationship with the singer, even way beyond their alleged abuse periods. This simply implies that the alleged victims had healthy, normal relationships with Kelly, and it could possibly explain why the allegations would always come forth decades later. This could mean that these allegations are not self-induced, but part of a bigger ploy that identifies would-be vulnerable subjects, engaging them into a vendetta intended to bring down the R&B king at all costs. This could greatly help influence the perception of R. Kelly to the appeal judge, with knowledge that the case goes beyond just the testimonies, but also demands looking deeper into the motive behind each testimony. If the appeal judge is then able to ascertain that the testimonies may just as well have been induced externally, then that can help them understand that they are dealing with a bigger problem than just the allegations. Another vital piece of fact that would come a long way, influencing the New York appeal, is the inexistence of an enterprise in R. Kelly's setting. If you recall, the New York trial was only successful due to the prosecution's capacities to convince the jury that R. Kelly actually run an enterprise that supposedly helped him abuse the alleged victims. That is how prosecution was able to win themselves an opportunity to argue the RICO charge on R. Kelly, resultantly finding him guilty and unfairly sentencing him to 30 years in prison. One trial analyst actually narrated that all prosecution did was compile selected headshots of R. Kelly's former employees and collage them on a chart, with lines connecting each head and R. Kelly's in the center to justify an enterprise. How hilarious. But testimony has already shown that even with the co-accused, R. Kelly had never shared anything with them in relation to his alleged involvement with girls. Should this be affirmed, therefore, by R. Kelly winning this Chicago trial, then the appeal judge will have no way of shying away from the fact that there is and has never been any enterprise setting in R. Kelly's allegations, thus greatly improving his chances of acquittal. That's all we had for you today. Please let us know in the comment section below whether you surely see a win coming in the Chicago trial based on the developments so far. We value your honest opinion. Thank you for watching LFN News, a production of LFN Media, giving you another view of issues at hand. To get notified whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now and hit the notification icon. And remember to give us your comment on the subject matter below.